what is Uncle Giuseppe's? What's the focus? The focus is always fresh made first. That's it. There's no, there's nothing more paramount than telling the story of made fresh, sold fresh every day. And from a marketing perspective, it sounds easy, but it's simple because it's one message. You're not thinking about 500 things that are going in the store. Yes, there are 500 things that are going on in the store, but you focus on that one thing and it encompasses everything. And that's the story we choose to tell. From a marketing standpoint, it's a blessing and a curse because there's so much to tell within that one story, but it's only one story. So you're able to focus.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing Podcasts. Here's Kevin.
Hi, this is Kevin Lee with the E-Marketing Association. I also run Did It, which is an agency, Truth Nutrition, a supplement brand, run a couple of nonprofits. And so keep my fingers in all pieces of marketing, digital and traditional. Super excited to be chatting with Nick Renna today, who's currently running e-com and marketing for Uncle Giuseppe's Marketplace, which is, if you're not in the New York tri-state area, you might not be aware of the brand, but it's a really great retail presence, but also has increasingly been beefing up their online e-com. So let's start out, Nick, with sort of the marketing mix that retailers have to deal with, right? They've got location, which is a huge value to them. But as far as their digital footprint, what do you think they should be thinking about?
Oh gosh, for us, we've been thinking a lot about AI. I mean, you hear the buzzwords of, LLMs and, search and all this stuff, right? And we're lucky enough to have partners who have the first foot in the door with regards to LLMs and how people are searching for, in our case, food, groceries, experiences. And when we think about all these, marketing mixes, how do we combine it all to make it make sense and bring Uncle Giuseppe's, who's known for a traditional shopping experience, to the online world, right? Um, so for us, we've been leaning on our vendors to help with that. Instacart is one of the first retailers to really engage with ChatGPT and some other ones. So like if you're shopping for, find groceries near me or something like that, it all kind of showcases in your search results. And, we've been at the forefront locally to try to leverage that ability. And it's actually pretty cool. Um, we're just starting to show up in those results. And we see it at the end of it all. So I would say that you got to lean on AI to make first to make sure that you're in that mix. From a social experience, obviously, socials in your face. And for us, we're able to leverage our social into e-com. Come visit us on X, Y, and Z, and the traditional, non-traditional ways of getting people to see your products online. So you have to be in everything, but from a digital standpoint, those is what we lean on are those two things.
See, I think a lot of folks don't realize that a lot of social media platforms are crawlable with regards to their content, right? So that means they're crawlable for Google and they're crawlable for the LLM AI bots as well.
Yeah.
So people used to think of social media sort of in a silo, but the reality is that social media has both SEO implications and generative engine optimization implications. And so for those folks who are underinvesting in social, they're also underinvesting in their visibility on a future-proof basis, right? They're potentially jeopardizing their visibility in ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably makes sense for a lot of folks to revisit their social, particularly the elements of social that are crawlable. And that includes YouTube transcripts, right, which are crawlable, and other video and audio assets that might get out there. Syndicating them into the right places can make a huge difference. So it's a real win-win. So I'd love to hear how you guys are thinking about social from an activation of your current customers base, right? That's I think another thing people forget is that you don't have to sell your current customers on the fact that you're great. You know, selling the Kardashians on the fact that you're great is probably going to take $1 million check or more, right? But your current customers all added together probably have a pretty decent social footprint. So how are you activating those?
So for us, it's we try to showcase the experience of the shop. Like when you walk into an Uncle Giuseppe's, for those who don't know, it's very much an experience, right? So we try to showcase that as much as possible online. And a lot of the items that we make, all of our facilities are scratch kitchens. So we try to showcase that in our social content as much as we can. And the virality of the scratch made foods and the trendy topics are really the ones to grab the attention of customers and come in. So much so that over the last year, we've had to actually um, publish our social media calendars internally to let the merchandising team know. Well, we partner with the merchandising team to make sure that these are things that we want to promote, but the operations team say, hey, this is what we're actually going to promote over the next couple of weeks. Please make sure you have, stock, make sure your end caps look the right way, and it's actually proven fruitful because it got to the point where our store teams were asking it, like, "Oh, you posted Italian sushi. I wish you would have told me. We would have had a special section for it because the customers were asking for it." Stuff like that. So when we showcase something online, we ensure that it's obviously on brand, right? But that it's engaging. It's not just, some, Ben Stein character talking to you about how we make Italian sushi. It's someone animated. We showcase the actual ingredients. And we showcase it in the store. It's not like it's made in some fancy production facility. It's made in a fancy Uncle Giuseppe's. Um, so we really showcase who we are, what we do in social, and that's what activates the customers. People, there's the common phrase of, I think it's floating all around the internet now. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, and people come to Uncle Giuseppe's for the experience. Everything now is so experiential. What am I missing out on? And that's really what we showcase through social. Every day. I mean, our videos just pop off. We have a great team, and we're lucky enough to have passionate people to really showcase what that means. And when you showcase the passion through the experience on social, gangbusters.
So, how do you recruit the internal passionate people? Do they automatically bubble to the surface, or do you have a system to identify them? Because a lot of folks that I talk to, they don't have any system. They just, to find their internal passionate advocates. Some are super charismatic, just some are super knowledgeable, right? But if they all want to help, how do you herd the cats internally and put them to the best use?
Yeah, I think there's a phrase like you can teach some things, but personality you can't. So like if you like if you can hire the smiling person who's willing to learn a skill, that's what it takes, right? Because you can have, I mean, you can have someone very, focused and quiet on, and they absolutely love it, but you need someone to be able to to talk about it. So when we hire, we look for smiling faces and people who are willing to learn, and then the passion follows from there. It's not like you're drinking the Kool-Aid when you come to Uncle Giuseppe's. We are generally excited about the products we make and what we sell, and I think that can go for any business. If you're generally excited about what you do, you can teach people the skills to do it too, and also be excited about what they do. We all of our stores are scratch kitchens, and we look for a lot of skilled labor. But if you don't have the skill, we'll teach you the skill as long as you're willing to learn it. So one of our priorities for hiring is just to make sure that we hire people who are willing to learn and enjoy the environment. It's not like, we're not looking for a butcher of 25 years. We're looking for someone who's excited to learn to be a butcher at Uncle Giuseppe's for 25 years.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the age of AI, right, humans matter more than ever, particularly in a retail environment, right? That's the experience. The experience is the retail environment. We'd love to follow up though with the e-com folks. Obviously, have always relied pretty heavily on pretty much every form of push notification that they could get permission on, right? So that's email, that's SMS. If they have an app like Instacart obviously relies super heavily on their app,
Yeah.
and whether they take too much margin or not from the players is a topic of debate. They clearly add a lot of value, but how do you guys think about push notifications of different types of SMS, of email, or and if you're using any other forms of sort of outbound push notifications?
Yeah, so we are just starting to, it sounds funny, right? But we're just starting to get into that, that realm of SMS. And we've always done email newsletters once a week and outbound messaging that way but from an SMS standpoint, we've never really done that, right? Uncle Giuseppe's and the position of the company has never been to like be in your face as often as other retailers, right? We definitely see value in that. We want to be able to, um, you know, uh, there's the value of Uncle Giuseppe's is the fresh, side of things, right? So when we run a limited time offer on something that's fresh, we want to be able to tell you that. We're not looking to promote to you, you know, center store items as often as we are the fresh side because that's who we are. So we're just starting to get into that. We find from what we've researched that it's extremely valuable through our loyalty program, which is on the up and up in terms of things that we're going to be offering customers. We want to be able to send personalized text messages out to our consumers to say, hey, thanks for shopping in bakery last month. Here's another $5 coupon. Come and get a cannoli on us or something like that. So we find that it's not so much a broadcast communication that we're looking to accomplish. It's more of the specified, personalized, SMS. And it sounds really funny. Until 2026, we're just getting into SMS. We're just getting into certain things. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's just a matter of, you know, saying, okay, it's time. Let's give it a shot, and see what happens. So, we're still, working through some, because we just don't want it, again, we don't want it to be blanketed. We want it to be personalized. So we're working through, some integrations on the loyalty side and, SMS provider side. And even was it the, Rich, RCS, the really, the fancy ones that come through like branded from retailers and stuff. So we're looking into that as well. And there's definitely options for everyone. We find it to be valuable. From an app perspective, Uncle Giuseppe's does have a web app, which is basically the website and e-com experience on a mobile app. So you can download that in the store. That is because it's just a specific, simple web app. We don't have the push notification specific, ability right now. And we're okay with that. We're getting there. We want to be there. The web app is fairly new, so now it's just a matter of enabling some other features. But we do find it to be something that we're very interested in and working towards. So.
So I'd love to, talk about the B2B side of your business because previously you'd been involved in B2B and catering and such. And Uncle Giuseppe's has a gigantic business there. And I know my team at Did It has used it in the past very successfully and very happy with everything that we've gotten. And so that's obviously a different set of messaging. And some customers you see in both your B2B and B2C, right? So you have to sort of think through messaging to them, right? Are they ordering $600 worth of stuff for their office, or are they just ordering for themselves? And where that intersection is particularly complicated is around the holidays, right? So holiday related catering is somewhat difficult to differentiate between a $450 Super Bowl order and a $450
Yeah, of
business catering Super Bowl order, right? They look the
course.
same. And so I'd love to hear how you guys are thinking through this sort of segmentation of your market, particularly as it relates to sort of overlap, right? I mean, a person is a person, right? They run a company and they also shop for themselves.
Yeah. It's a great call out. One of the things that we're fortunate enough to have is a corporate sales team. So we try to outfit them with as much business side marketing materials, catering for your office, treat your team, that kind of stuff, right? Um, and we're also fortunate enough that, like you said, that B2C customer is our customer through and through. Like if you shop at Uncle Giuseppe's, for whatever reason, this brand is always on your mind. And it's true. I mean, we're fortunate enough to have um, that memory in your, that little place in your brain that always thinks about us whenever you either drive by or, you sit at your desk. Oh, I can go for Uncle Giuseppe sandwich. Oh, you know what? Let's bring the lunch for the office. I think the brand just kind of lends itself to be fluid from B2C to B2B. And from I think also from a community standpoint, we're also heavily involved in a lot of different nonprofits, community outreach programs, and the people who reach out to us for help, assistance in certain areas are also our customers. Um, so I would make the argument that our primary customer is also our business customer, and maybe our business customer. Um, I think you're an Uncle Giuseppe's customer first before you're a business customer, and that may make sense in a lot of different businesses. But I think once you are fortunate enough to experience one of our shopping trip at Uncle G's, you just happen to become that business customer too. And again, we have that whole full business catering team willing to make deliveries wherever you are, come visit you in the office, talk about your needs. We'll host a gala for you. We'll host a 10-person luncheon for you. So, we're able to customize whatever you want. And that's the messaging we give and white glove service and, you know, the whole thing. But I think our regular customer turns into our business customer.
So in the clients I've had before that are in grocery, as well as the ones that are in restaurant, whether it's QSR or other forms of dining, they're always thinking about share of wallet, right? And so there's different ways you can define share of wallet, and I'm wondering like how you recommend other people think about that, right? Because you know if you're sort of in the specialty world, right, you could have 100% of that share wallet, but like have, a different percentage on sort of the stuff that people could also get at any generic grocer, right?
Right.
But do you guys sort of think about it from like, okay, we're going to fight for different shares of wallet in different ways?
We don't think about it like that. I think because, people say we're a specialty grocer, but I think what we are is a fresh grocer. So, like, our product mix is much different than a ShopRite. People go to ShopRite for the can special and the center store items, right?
Yeah.
Uncle Giuseppe's, you're coming to the perimeter of the store, so our sales are inverted from a traditional grocery store. Again, all of our stores are scratch. So, you go into another grocery store and all the salads you see in a deli case may come out of a tub, which is nothing wrong with that, but we make all of our salads, so that's the differentiator. The share of wallet, we know that our customers don't always do a full shop with us. We know that our customers go elsewhere. So what do we bring, what do we focus on? And that's the things that others don't do, which is the fresh. So, we're okay with that. I mean, Uncle Giuseppe's is known for our 40, 50 foot long deli case where everything in there is made every day. And that's the differentiator. That's what we harp on. That's what every time you see a photo and a marketing piece of marketing material from us, it's always, something fresh. It's never a can of beans. You may see it in our weekly circular, but the front page is always our fresh items.
So I think that that's an interesting lesson really for other marketers, especially given the history of Uncle Giuseppe's, right? I mean, they sort of came from produce, right? And produce is fresh, and they've continued to sort of make that their brand. And by doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down on it, they've had an amazing growth journey
Yeah.
that really is the envy of a lot of other folks, right? So I think for other marketers who may be spreading themselves too thin, right, and not focusing on what it is they do best, you guys are a real lesson there.
Thank you. Yeah, whenever we take on a project, it's always like, well, what is Uncle Giuseppe's? What's the focus? The focus is always fresh made first. That's it. There's no, there's nothing more paramount than telling the story of made fresh, sold fresh every day. And from a marketing perspective, it sounds easy, but it's simple because it's one message. You're not thinking about 500 things that are going in the store. Yes, there are 500 things that are going on in the store, but you focus on that one thing and it encompasses everything. And that's the story we choose to tell. From a marketing standpoint, it's a blessing and a curse because there's so much to tell within that one story, but it's only one story. So you're able to focus.
Right. What else should marketers be thinking about this year as they, particularly the retail channel, right? So, e-com obviously is part of everybody's story, right? They're integrating their systems together. They're trying to make it easier for the customer to choose their channel, but at the
Hmm.
same time, the retail footprint remains key. So for those folks who are listening to this or watching this, who have a retail presence and want to find that balance, what should they be thinking about this year?
For me, it's been eye-opening in regards to one thing, and that's direct mail is not dead.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
you know that better. I mean, you're at the forefront of doing a lot of really cool things on some things, but I've only been at Uncle G's for about a year, and it's been interesting to learn about their trials and tribulations about direct mail and how it works and so on, and then seeing the ROI on some of our coupons that we send out quarterly are significant. So much so that our customers reach out when they say, "Hey, I think I'm supposed to get a coupon soon. When's it coming?" And it's interesting to hear that. And I bring that up only because like you said, you hear about all this AI stuff and blah blah blah. But guess what? I mean, this little piece of paper sometimes means more than a digital ad, depending upon what it is exactly is you're trying to accomplish. Um, so I think from a foot traffic driver, it's one of our largest things that we do. It's expensive, but the return makes it worth it. So
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some significant improvements in that channel, right? I mean, on the Did It team, we invented the Inceptor technology with custom QR codes on every piece, which allows the CRM system to speak to each piece of mail individually. But I think the real key that not all marketers think about when they think about direct mail as another push, right? Just like email, just like SMS, it's
mhm.
push because you have the person's contact information in many cases their customer. In some cases, obviously, it's not. But thinking through those lists and trying to predict who the highest lifetime value or at least highest order value people are within that list makes a huge difference because direct mail is expensive, and
Yeah,
so you can't always afford to mail everyone you'd like to mail. And so, sometimes cutting the mail down by 30% or 50%, and only keeping the people in it that are highly responsive and when they respond are most valuable is, I think, a lesson that some marketers need to think through, right? Optimize their mail the same way they would optimize their paid search, their paid social, their programmatic, their
yeah,
CTV, right? They're always looking to eliminate the waste and double down on what works best.
yeah.
And sometimes in direct mail, they don't do that. And I think it's unfortunate because then they throw the baby out with the bathwater. They say direct mail doesn't work. Right?
Right,
But wait a
right,
minute, you forgot to figure out which portions of your direct mail were working and which portions were not.
right.
So I think yeah, I'm glad you brought that up just because of the sort of media optimization process is just as important in direct mail as it is in anything else. Understanding the wealth and income of zip codes or zip plus fours, right? And knowing that correlates to the size of the basket when they get to the store, or in B2B, the size of the order
Right.
when they decide to put through that catering order. You're happy to do the $200 order, but the $26,000 order is better, right? You'll
Of
take more
course.
of those.
Of course, yeah. And for us, we send out over 1 million circulars a week. And it's a significant number, but we understand also the zip codes that work and the zip codes that don't, and we review and it's so funny, when you do, you may cut back on a zip code because it's not, performing as you want to, and that's not to say you're annexing the customers. It's a pure dollars and cents thing. You do get the customers like, I don't get the circular anymore, and we as a customer service point, we will actually mail them, their own individual circular.
Mhm.
But for us, it's wildly successful. And it's important. But like you said, if you don't go through the zip codes, you're not, you just kind of throw money away. So,
Yeah. Of course, there's an argument to be made for, larger broadcast media that does get out to everybody, right?
yeah,
Some of those media channels feel a little bit more dead now, like old school TV, newspaper, outdoor advertising, et cetera. But there's something to be said. And I know you guys have a pretty strong outdoor footprint as well on outdoor advertising. And that one, while certain neighborhoods may be more valuable than others, it creates some great, air cover, right? that make sure everybody's aware of the brand in addition to them driving past the retail locations. So I think marketers also need to think through this idea of having the air cover, having the awareness building going on alongside the direct response, which is in direct mail and perhaps online.
Yeah, and it's actually funny you bring that up because yesterday, a really quick story, we had a lot of flooding on Long Island, and there happened to be a lot of flooding under one of our billboards on 110, and of course, the news covered it, and what's all over the news but our billboard, above the flood, so you get a little pop with that kind of stuff too. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, we value outdoor tremendously. Obviously, we have some of the largest billboards on Long Island, queued up for a long time. And we're always looking for new ones as we expand. And even in New Jersey, Jersey has a lot more billboards than Long Island does, but they actually just converted a lot of their billboards to digital. So now we can rotate material out. Seasonality is a lot easier, on demand and scheduled content you can put up there. So, and making sure also as a tidbit that you have exclusivity in your category, in your industry when you're signing up for those digital billboards is important too. So we make sure that no other grocer can come onto those billboards when we're signed up too. So it's cool. It's definitely valuable. We see it.
That's a great point. Any final thoughts for marketers as they think through their to-do list?
Um, no, I would just say, you got to have fun with it because, it can be easy to get bogged down in the spreadsheets and like the planning and everything, but, we have a lot of fun here. And I think that's what makes it worthwhile is that, it's easy to have fun here, I would say too. But, if you're not having fun while you're trying to figure out what's new, and what to plan for, then I don't think it's, worth the squeeze.
That's a great life lesson in general, right? Hopefully, everyone who's listening can have fun at work and make work feel more like play. Thanks so much, Nick, for joining me.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate the time.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.